As New Orleans public schools unify under elected local leadership, we ask the question, what should a quality public education look like?
Make sure the students are growing, make sure they're actually learning things that they need to know, not just academically, but in life situations.
Children are happy to come to school every day. They look forward to coming to school to learn, to socialize, to be part of something bigger than themselves.
It's a place that has high expectations and a place that pushes kids to be the best version of themselves they can possibly be.
It provides a safe and secure environment where the kids are emotionally strong as well as socially strong, and it inspires kids to want to do more not only in school but also in their community.
WYES studies the state of public schools in this edition of Reshaping a Greater New Orleans, Assignment Education. Under the waning light of a full moon, Ashanti Smith Trask and her daughter Zora lock up their townhouse and head to the school bus stop. They don't have too far to walk, but Zora's ride will take her across town from home in New Orleans East to uptown New Orleans. A caravan of buses rumbles down the road in the pre-dawn hours, shuttling Orleans Parish public school students to points parish-wide. About a third of the 48,000 Orleans public school students board a school bus to class. The nearby neighborhood school is not part of the educational experience for over 60% of those students these days. Parents can choose from schools citywide using the online application process Enroll NOLA or OneApp, but seats are limited in the highest performing schools, and living near a school does not guarantee admission. The post-Katrina public school landscape brought charters and choice, but also challenges. Having relocated from the North Shore to Orleans Parish, Ashanti sought the best school for her child. It took 3 tries in as many years as she navigated OneApp.
My best thing is to tell parents to do it in November. Like, soon as it open up, hit it, because by the time January comes, all of the good schools are gone. It's been a difficult struggle for us because it's a lot different from when I was in school. You know, back then it was really Orleans Parish School Board that had all of the schools. And so when we came back, it was just me actually trying to figure out how these schools go with the charter schools and all of the rest of that stuff. It was just kind of hitting the ground running and finding your way.
Choosing the school that best suits your child can be daunting in this new landscape of public schools run by charter operators. For the past 12 years, the Urban League of Louisiana's School Expo has provided parents and kids the opportunity to learn more about what's out there.
No, I think it's really helpful, and I think it's a great way for parents to come down and learn about the schools, you know, so I think it's a big help.
I have 2 younger siblings, and I'm interested in opening my options to see, also with my parents, to opening my options to see where else they could go for a better education.
Kids can have fun at the expo while, along with their parents, gaining some valuable lessons to help them with school choice. Parental involvement is a key factor in the equation for school success. Lamont Douglas is a product of Catholic schools. His 3 children have attended public schools in the city. His youngest is 4th grader Taylor Douglas, a student at Andrew H. Wilson Charter School.
I think gone are the days when it's hands off, when you could just drop your child off at a school and think the teacher's going to take care of everything. I think it's a partnership between home and school. So we just try to get parents to know that you can be there.
Ashanti and Zora wrap up their long day preparing dinner and tackling homework. Ashanti is pleased with her daughter's progress at her school, Ben Franklin Middle. There were some frustrating experiences at the other 2 schools that Zora attended, one of which lost its charter to operate.
This is my 3rd school. We are now currently at Ben Franklin. It's going really well. It is going really, really well. She has the diversity there. Teachers will actually send you information on your child every day. You know, I can go in at lunchtime. She was one of 50 kids that got accepted for the 6th grade. And this school is much smaller. It's maybe 280 kids.
All right, once again, we want to say happy birthday to Zora.
More open, it's more friendly. Anytime I go there, they are more family oriented. Have a colorful title on there. Definitely. This is the first time she's had to do a science project. She's in the 6th grade, and she's never had to do a science project. What about that one?
Okay, let's see. Sherlock and the Sugar Mystery.
It is still your project.
Parents are navigating this new system, some with more frustration than others, but with a common goal.
A lot of people are just stuck as far as with education with their kids, and they feel like they have to leave their kids in these failing schools, and they don't have to do that. And you're never stuck when it comes down to your child education and academics, because we want to have the best possible education for our kids.
The Orleans public school system and the families that attend those schools are on the same journey to achieve that quest, the best possible education, in an educational landscape that has reshaped and is now moving into yet another phase: unification. Unification means the return of responsibility for nearly all public schools in New Orleans to the locally elected school board for the first time since Hurricane Katrina. During the 2017-18 school year, 38 of the 86 public schools in the city were under the oversight of the Recovery School District, 41 under the Orleans Parish School Board, and 7 governed by the State Board of Education or legislature. In 2018-19, all of the 86, except 8 schools overseen by the Bessie Board or state legislature, will fall under OPSB governance. The Louisiana legislature created the Recovery School District in 2003.
The State Board of Education at that time said we need a way to intervene with the state's most persistently struggling schools. And so the goal of the Recovery School District when it was first formed was to take schools that were persistently struggling, stabilize and improve them, and then return them to the local parish. And that was always the intent of the Recovery School District.
By the start of the 2005 school year, the RSD took over 5 failing schools from the OPSB and turned them into charters, publicly funded autonomous schools which make their own hiring, firing, and curriculum decisions and create their own cultures.
Once Katrina hit, the state legislature, passed a law putting the majority of the schools in New Orleans under the governance of the Recovery School District.
The local elected school board would retain authority over only the city's small number of high-performing schools.
We were financially broke. Academically, we were one of the lowest performing districts in the state of Louisiana, and probably as you rank us in the country as well. And then Katrina gave us the opportunity, and I was fortunate to be one of those leaders that came on the front end to reestablish education on the West Bank of New Orleans in Algiers. And at that moment, it was something that was very, very new. We were learning what it meant to be a charter school. We were learning to understand the autonomy that was given to leaders to be very, very innovative.
Soon after Katrina, there were families returning, and there were not schools that were open for families. And so the Recovery School District chose to open schools directly, as any traditional district does, and also chose to allow charter operators to establish schools so that we could keep pace with the number of families that were returning. Over time, it became clear that our charters were growing students more than the district-run schools were growing students.
Here are some examples of charter success stories. Warren Easton High. Joseph W. Gilliatt III was one of 7,000 school employees fired by OPSB post-Katrina. He went to Warren Easton to help start a charter school. Today, he's principal and CEO.
One thing we found after the storm, kids came from a flooded out home through a flooded out city to a flooded out school. When we started bringing the extracurriculars back on board, it was like pouring water on a dying plant. When we brought back the band, the flag team, the majorettes, the cheerleaders, the football team, the basketball team, we brought back all of those extracurriculars. It literally breathed life into the building again because kids had more of a purpose for coming to school. That social aspect. The extracurriculars play a critical point in a kid's progress through school.
What's behind Warren Easton's high-quality education, says Gilliatt, is their philosophy of family.
We're a family from the first time you walk through the door until long after you've walked across the stage at graduation. You're part of the Easton family, and you'll always be part of the family. We have a 100% graduation rate for the last 7 years through extreme persistence, relentless pursuit of excellence. We do not believe in failure. We will push until it's done right. Our ACT scores are improving, our end of course scores are improving. We've maintained an A rating for the last 3 years. We adapt to the conditions. Whatever a student needs, we get it. If you're at the top, we give you what you need. If you're at the middle, we give you what you need. Success is defined student by student.
Warren Easton Charter School Foundation Board of Directors President David Garland graduated from Easton 50-plus years ago when his father was principal.
And if you look at the charter school makeup that we have here in New Orleans, there's an incredible variety of schools that did not exist before. Each in their own way is adding to the background and nature of Orleans people and what their needs. We're a very cosmopolitan city for as small as we are, and the needs that we have from arts to science to whatever is challenging, and it's very difficult to control that from a central office. So I think the charter movement, from my viewpoint, is a step towards the future. Not only that, it also has people like myself who would never have gotten involved in education to come back and dedicate our time and our service at no expense to the school. And we have leaders, business leaders, lawyers, doctors, educators that are dedicated their lives to making their individual schools better, which was not a component from what was in the traditional school structure before.
Jamar McNeely was teaching at Edna Carr High School when Katrina struck. He returned and rose to an administrator. In 2013, he co-founded Inspire NOLA Charter Schools, starting with Carr and another A-grade school with a mission to transform an education movement.
So we decided to do turnaround work. We decided to leverage everything that we were doing, our foundation reputation, the tradition, how we had our academic programming, to go back and do turnaround schools. We took one of the worst schools in New Orleans, which is an F school. We actually had the highest gains in 1 year, where that school actually went from an F to a C in 1 year based on our academic model, or what we like to call our special sauce. And then from there, the school is actually approaching a B now. But it was important for us, for a community as a whole, to make sure that we were stabilizing not only communities, but had a wonderful school in every community that we serve. So we're actually on our third turnaround this year. We go into school with the understanding that our kids can learn, our kids can do great things. It's just about having a strong academic program to transform that school as early as possible.
McNeely is telling the transformation story of Andrew H. Wilson School, where Lamont Douglas is an active parent in his daughter Taylor's education. Taylor lives with her mother, who's a teacher at Wilson.
I definitely am satisfied with the way the school is moving academically. As we speak now, my daughter's in LEAP tutoring.
Douglas respects the improvement to learning McNeely and the Wilson head of school have made.
They were teachers before the storm, and now they're administrators after the storm. And those guys can come in and they can talk to each other, and they can bring in some of the things that really, really help educate all of our children. When they first sat down and talked to the students, they were like, we want structure and we want discipline. We want the culture to change.
I am proud to go to the Wilson Charter School because we have grown so far throughout the years. Because we started from an F, well, we at a B now, but we're trying to work ourselves to an A and grow higher throughout the years.
Wilson is a good school. And Wilson is a good school because we combined home and school, and we brought things together. And we're working on that. It's a work in progress. Anything that's going on in our schools isn't going to happen just because we sprinkle some pixie dust on it. There's work to be done. Coming up on 13 years after the storm, I think it's bad that we still have a long way to go. I think charter schools, on one hand, are great if those teachers and administrators and also parents buy into what's going on in the school. But I think if you just leave it to chance, then there's a possibility for your charter school to not be a good charter school.
As of July 1st, 2018, OPSB is the authorizer of 76 charter schools, responsible for holding them all accountable.
The charter schools are the most accountable public schools that exist, period. I mean, there is no traditional public school that exists on a contract with performance terms, and if those performance terms aren't met, then it's closed. I mean, how do you get more accountable than that? And so I commend the Orleans Parish School Board for embracing their role as a charter school oversight entity. And by the way, there was an instance recently in New Orleans East where a school stepped out of line. They wouldn't do the right thing and provide transportation to their kids, and Orleans Parish stepped in, said this is about fairness, it's about equity, it's about doing what's right for the taxpayers and the families, and they made sure that things changed. And so, that is accountability.
In order to be a charter, you have to achieve a certain level of academic result with students. And if you don't achieve that result, you lose the privilege to educate kids. And in this city, where there used to be 60% of students going to failing schools, we now have fewer than 4 failing schools in the city of New Orleans, and all of those schools are on track to closure or transformation. And that's because we have held our bar high and we have stuck to it.
A city with 94% of its public school students attending charter schools, the most in the nation, has made notable achievements in education.
So in 2005, in this city, 1 out of 2 students was graduating high school. That is an abysmally low number for any American city. And of those graduates, 1 out of 3 were going to college. We are now at a place where 3 out of 4 students are graduating high school, and 2 out of 3 of those graduates are going to college. And that growth has happened in a decade. And so this system is in a dramatically better place than it was in 13 years ago. But as you say, we have much to improve on. And we are excited about our high quality schools expanding and growing.
But the city's school performance score fell from a B to a C, while statewide grades went up. And despite enrollment choice, 59% of students attend schools graded C or D. Difficult challenges for this new chapter.
So the role of our district in our unified system is very simple in my opinion. One, we authorize new schools, and we regulate our public education in the city of New Orleans. So we are the agency that will hold all schools to the same standard and hold all schools accountable. But we also, in my opinion, we're a protector. We are the protector of student rights and family rights. We're an advocator. We know that our students need additional resources. So our job is to also to go out there and to advocate for additional resources for our students. Another major role in our unified district is around finance. We have to be honest stewards of the public's dollars and make sure that the schools are utilizing those dollars to educate our young people here in the city of New Orleans.
The most important concern in Orleans Parish, as with any parish in Louisiana, is that the schools be as good as they can possibly be. And we've experienced a lot of successes in the time since Katrina in New Orleans, but we've also got a very, very long way to go. We've still got high schools that are not creating warm, nurturing environments for all students so that all students are on path to graduate. We've got a career and technical education system that needs to be better connected to work. We've got an early childhood system that's not allowing mom and dad to go to work because we don't have enough high quality seats for infants, toddlers, and 3-year-olds. So we have huge changes that need to be made. And I think the Orleans Parish School Board, working with the state and working with the charter schools, will make those things happen.
So I think a good public school education is just somewhere that doesn't put everybody into one box. They understand that children come in all different shapes and sizes. No 2 students are the same. And you have to have a plan in place and have a community that is safe for every student to be who they are and to grow into the successful person that they can and should be.
A student has a certain set of needs and desires, and then the education or the school or the program molds their programming around the needs and the desires of the student. And so when I'm a student, I have unlimited options, and if my desires change, I'm able to find a place where I'm going to excel and meet my long-term goals.
In my mind, I feel like quality education, it should be based on the students, meaning that students should have their opinion on how the class should be ran and how teachers can either be better or how things can be taught. Because, you know, as a student, you learn different ways.
30 students in grades 8 through 12 from 16 schools across the city helped Orleans Parish public school leaders take the pulse of student priorities this year. They are members of the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council.
As an educator for over 20 years, when you want to know something, especially about young people, you just go to them. And so as superintendent, even as I started the visioning process, I felt that before I would bring anything to the board, as far as recommendations from my administration, I want the voice of our students to have been elevated.
That's why Orleans Parish School Board members visited the student leaders at their March meeting.
I think it's critically important that we involve you as early as we can to have you all become part of the solution and not just people that sit on the sidelines and watch everything happen for them, but actually contribute to your own education and contribute to the culture in your schools.
I've been thrilled to be a part of this change that's taking place in New Orleans, and we've gotten a lot of things right and we've gotten a lot of things wrong. And the question is, how do we fix those things that are wrong? And I see that we're starting to fix many of them over time, but we need you all to tell us what they are and give us suggestions on how to fix them if we're really going to fix them in a way that's going to work for everyone, for your families, for your siblings below you, and for your fellow classmates.
Breakout sessions between board members and students led to the sharing of ideas.
What policies are you promoting that encourage student voice and representation when it comes to things like changing dress code and discipline?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would think that that would be the type of thing that would be appropriate for a student government that would be a key role of the Student Government Association, right? It would be, dress code would be one issue, I would think. And that's what we did at Cohen. You know, when I was running Cohen, our student government had specific recommendations on the dress code that the principal considered. Some of those things got denied and some of them got approved, right? It was sort of a give and take, right? But there was voice, that if you have those systems to hear student voices, the topics, whether it be dress code or curriculum or bus transportation or whatever it is, you know, those all have a forum then to be talked about and discussed in a way where students can be heard.
Parent Advisory Council member Lamont Douglas is encouraged that OPSB is listening, but has concerns.
But then I ask, are those students speaking for every student? Because my question is, why aren't there any opportunity youth on the Student Advisory Council? Why aren't there any children who are in alternative schools on the Student Advisory Council? Because they may be the ones who tell us what we need to do to make a school better quality for them. OPSB needs to make sure that those councils are speaking for the families as a whole.
A quality public education looks like teachers helping students, students helping students. I feel like the more help, the better.
Quality education involves a very strong teacher that's able to reach students at different levels, that can take a student who may be behind when they receive them in their grade and get them either on grade level or above grade level.
It's about academic achievement. It's also about your physical health and well-being, and it's also about your social and emotional development. And so ideally a good education develops a well-rounded child.
What does it look like to you? Chicken? Good job.
Reva Ellis is an Orleans Parish Public School alum, the active mom of 3 young Orleans Public School students, as well as an advocate for early childhood education, which led to her appeal to the New Orleans City Council in August 2017 for funding for early childhood ed.
Because when you think about it, dealing with low poverty homes and people who working paycheck to paycheck, every family has to work. And if the child stay home for the first 5 years of their lives, by the time they make it to kindergarten, they will not be nowhere near prepared or ready. So it's very important for early childhood education.
Reva was joined at council by Michelle Davis.
We were trying to get the council to see the importance of the city actually investing into early childhood education. There are a lot of parents that cannot afford to pay for the services. So you could have quality centers, but if parents can't take advantage of it, then are we really doing a service to the families?
Council members agreed and approved $750,000 for early childhood education training and access in the city. Riva and Michelle are part of a growing movement to expand early childhood education and funding statewide. They're grateful for the city funds, but recognize that it's not near the estimated up to $140 million needed annually in Orleans Parish to provide publicly funded seats to families who need assistance.
We know from the latest census data that there are 23,000 children ages 4 and under. And of that 23,000, there are roughly 16,000 children who are, based on definition, declared at risk in some way. We meet about 90% of the need of 4-year-olds. On the other hand, for children younger than 4, we only meet about 18% of that need. So there's a huge need in Orleans Parish for seats for children younger than 3, really younger than 4.
Dr. Anthony Rakazna directs the New Orleans Early Education Network, NOEN, an outgrowth of the 2012 Louisiana Early Childhood Education Act, or Act 3.
Our purpose is to focus on several mandated functions that the state is concerned about regarding ensuring that children are ready for kindergarten. Those functions are coordinating enrollment, assessing the quality of learning and teacher-child interaction in classrooms, and ensuring that funds are available where families are, and so that we can create as many seats for families in need as possible.
The early years, birth to age 4, is the most important time of life for brain development. In fact, birth to age 3, 80% of the brain is built during that time. And the brain is like a house. During those years, you've got the very foundation of that brain. That foundation is weak. You can go back and fix it later, but you've been building on top of it, so it's much more difficult and much more expensive to go back and fix it. And this is why even the science of economics now is showing us that if you invest in early childhood, if you intervene in early childhood and invest in early childhood, the return on investment is so much more than any other time in life.
The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round.
The economics of quality early childhood education is prompting business support for increased funding.
Emotional support, when we're talking about emotional support within a classroom, these are some of the things we want to see.
We have kids that are not successfully navigating through K through 12 because of the fact that they don't get a good start in 0 to 4, then it costs us at the back end. In order to give children a really good shot in the future, we've got to plug this hole that we've got right now, and that's the hole is access to quality early child care and education.
The cost per child varies, but experts peg the statewide average at about $5,700 annually, with funding pulled from local, state, and federal sources.
So for the 0 to 4-year-olds, 0 to 5-year-olds, we definitely have to have more revenue, more qualified individuals serving our young people. And I think if we do that, then students will be much stronger when they start kindergarten, and then it will make the work for K-12 not as difficult and as challenging when you're constantly serving chronically underperforming, underserved students.
Act 3 consolidated early childhood concerns under the Department of Education, which now offers the public an online performance evaluation of publicly funded centers. And in Orleans Parish, parents can find those centers on the Enrolled NOLA site. Increased access to early childhood education is a goal, with quality being the key word, but supporters stress that it takes money to achieve excellence.
We used to be serving almost 40,000 kids statewide in our child care assistance program. Today we are serving 17,000. And this is a program that is specifically targeted to low-income families who are working, where the parents are working in school or in job training. This needs to be made a priority for state funding. It will take, in my mind, local, state, federal, and private funding for us to be able to fund this, just like it does for K through 12.
The state's economy takes a loss of an estimated $1.6 billion each year due to child care issues. But the most significant impact is on young learners themselves, nearly half of whom in Louisiana enter kindergarten unprepared.
And the incredible thing about early childhood care and education is you're helping the development of that child, but you're also helping mom and dad go to work. Louisiana, over the last 10 years, has systematically taken apart its investment in child care. It's a serious problem for our workers. It's a serious problem for our children. It needs to change. First, the state needs to step up and needs to make an investment. But secondly, we need to talk to locals about how we use our tax credit system, how we use local private and local public revenue to subsidize that system as well. And we've got to get to a time when locals are taking responsibility, if not financially, then from a leadership perspective for running the early childhood system.
Which brings us back to the New Orleans City Council and the $750,000 allocation.
I think it's a huge symbolic thing that for the very first time our city is putting up local funds to help families with early care and education. So we should feel very proud of it. It is a drop in the bucket of what's needed for sure.
Federal dollars will cover 80% of the waiting list of 5,200 qualified families statewide who need assistance for 1 year.
All my friends are marching with me.
State legislators have recognized the need for more funding and created a commission to study the issue.
I feel like a quality education covers all backgrounds. It doesn't cover just academics, it covers the other side too. Are we making sure our students have mental health? Are they being supported in school and out of school? Are we giving them all of the experiences of a high school? Are we pushing them in the things that they love to do and not just what we as teachers would want them to do?
Yeah, I think a quality public school is one that affirms the identity of every student, that welcomes every student, that capitalizes on their strengths and helps every student find a path to success post high school, whatever that path might be.
Students face an opportunity. 70,000 high-wage jobs opening over the next 10 years in the greater New Orleans region. The assignment goes to Youth Force NOLA to make sure New Orleans public school students are ready to compete.
And we knew and saw that we were not going to be able to fill those positions through the local workforce alone. Employers were telling us that they were going to have to recruit from outside the city and outside the country even to fill some of these jobs. And at the same time, we knew that our high school students were increasingly academically prepared, but were not getting exposure to these massive job opportunities. We're not building the technical skills for these job opportunities. And just generally, we felt like this was going to be a big miss if we did not pursue it.
Youth Force NOLA is an education, business, and civic collaborative that prepares public school students to pursue top-dollar career pathways. One way they do it is an annual career expo for sophomores to consider health sciences, the ever-changing world of digital media and IT, and the skilled crafts. This spring, more than 2,200 10th graders visited 75 employers and training providers to think about what they may want to be when they grow up and what fields to further explore if they win Youth Force NOLA internships as seniors.
What we have in the Youth Force internship program is a very rigorous 150 hours. Students do 60 hours of training with us where they're learning and practicing those soft skills. They're also learning some business etiquette, handshakes, netiquette, which is sort of how do you behave online. They're learning financial literacy, and they're also just getting some exposure to our regional industries to round out their understanding of the world of work.
I'm set on the medical field, but I also want to explore different areas. And I feel like Youth Force is like a really good opportunity for me to see what I want to do, really.
Intern Amaya Bryant is a senior at the New Orleans Charter Science and Mathematics High School, one of 21 open enrollment New Orleans public schools selected as Youth Force NOLA partners. Youth Force NOLA raises dollars from philanthropy and government to pay the intern stipends.
That's like icing on top of the cake, just You're already getting experience. This is like a huge gain for us because not only are you getting experience, you're also getting paid for just coming, participating, and learning. But for me, personally, it's not really about the money. That's fine. I'm gonna need money to survive, but like, I don't wanna go to work and not like what I'm doing. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I wanna be able to say, I'm not working, I'm just doing like what I love.
That's a life lesson reinforced in the classrooms at Sci-High.
Part of it is to learn if this is something they want to do. So while we would love for it to be an instant connection and they say, oh, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, the other side of it is if they determine as a 17 or 18-year-old that, hey, this isn't for me, that I would rather go and do something else, that's just as meaningful. The work-based learning component of high school is so important, and even into post-secondary when they go off, whether it's Delgado or LSU or Tulane. We really pride ourselves in those internships and putting them in those situations where they can gain just being around other people who work day in, day out. Seeing those skills from adults, seeing it modeled in that way is huge. It's just so many students go into the four-year university system. They don't graduate, they don't finish, and so they come out unemployed with zero skills. So we would rather give them some skills in high school, put them on some sort of pathway that they enjoy, that they can earn money in, and then hopefully land in some sort of secure career.
For Youth Force NOLA interns, those 90 hours of on-the-job training help them weigh their options. Youth Force placed Maya Bryant at STEM Library Lab, a startup nonprofit that shares equipment with teachers of science, technology, engineering, and math.
I hope by interning with STEM Library Lab and through Youth Force NOLA that students are learning both a collection of really measurable, usable skills that they can apply to the workplace, but also a broader purpose around how we problem solve and the thinking and skills required to operate successfully in what can be a fast-paced or changing day-to-day workplace.
Biggest thing I've learned, I would have to say more of a work experience thing. I've never been like a great communicator, or let me say this, I've been an okay problem solver, but now I feel even better because Todd has prepared me.
Nathaniel Kenner is an Edna Carr senior set on becoming an engineer. His internship is with Concordia, Community-Centered Planning and Design.
I like to work with my hands, and I realized that like civil engineering with roads, canals, and buildings, so it's stuff like you need every day.
The consistency of the skills and abilities of each of the Youth Force interns has really been, incredible. I would highly recommend it to anybody.
Woodward Design Plus Build is another Youth Force NOLA partner, hosting interns including Edna Carr's Damian Gaines.
From what I learned from this company, I have learned that time management is key. I have also learned that you have to get along with a lot of people because it's more of a group thing, so you have to get along with a lot of people in your area. I would want to be an electrician as soon as I graduate from out of high school. As soon as I go the electrician route, go to my trade school, which is IBEW, Local 130. Hopefully in 10 years' time, I will be able to have enough money to start up my own little business, and from there on, I'll just keep building up.
As the newest crop of interns from the class of 2018 says goodbye to high school and hello to the future, the City of New Orleans signed an agreement to invest $1.1 million in Youth Force NOLA internships for 925 high school seniors through 2020. That means 10% of that year's graduates have the chance to follow Amaya Bryant's footsteps.
Remember when I told you about the building blocks, the different building blocks they taught us, how to prepare for work, how to show up in the workforce, how to act in the workforce, all of that I really needed. What's next for me is Tulane University and then Xavier Pharmacy School. I pray. Always believe in yourself. Do not let anyone's opinions affect what you feel, and work hard.
Keeping students engaged and in school is a key part of career training classes, along with exposing them to possible employment pathways and workforce readiness. At the St. Charles Parish Public Schools Satellite Center, junior and senior high school students are able to choose career training classes that can lead to college credit and certification in fields ranging from healthcare to digital media.
So since we started in 2005, our goal has been to be able to provide our students an opportunity to explore a career that they're interested in. I think high school, especially here, gives them the exposure to determine if this is something they want to do or not.
The students spend a half day receiving instruction, testing, and hands-on training. It's given senior Rajane Morris a better sense of direction for her career path.
Checking the airways, is there anything in there? I plan on majoring in neuroscience when I go to college, and I want to continue my education to medical school. So being here and doing the things that I'm doing and being trained and certified as an emergency medical responder, it's very helpful and it's made me really confident in my choice.
If they're going through here, they're having an opportunity to see how this can help them be able to be successful at the next level, whether it be at a four-year university or being at a community college or even just going straight to work.
In my own experience, I saw students maybe take 5 or 6 years after high school in order to find their way through technical and skilled trade pathways, often resulting in extreme debt, extra time, and delayed start in the workplace.
Claire Jecklin, a former Sci-High principal, now heads the nonprofit working to establish the New Orleans Career Center for Orleans Parish Public High School students.
A group of civic, government, and industry leaders came together to consider what it would take to help better prepare New Orleans high school students for the mid-skill and STEM jobs that are unique to our city. We realized that we have an emphasis on college pathways, but not necessarily career pathways. And so the Career Center is meant to help provide what is very limiting in a small charter school for students across our city to have access to advanced technical training and credentialing opportunities.
The Career Center will expand opportunities for students to pursue the Jumpstart Career Pathway Diploma.
We were a part of coordinating with the local Jumpstart team. Next year we're offering 2 pathways. We'll serve 140 students. 60 of those students will come for a half day for medical assisting. We will also have an AM and PM session for 3D modeling, manufacturing, engineering, design.
To start, students will use facilities like the Fab Lab at Delgado Community College, but eventually all training will be under one roof.
By the time we grow into full capacity, we'll be offering 5 pathways with various certifications and serving up to 1,000 students. So in order to be able to offer more Jumpstart pathways, we have to have access for students. In terms of a TOPS University diploma, these credits can count as your elective courses. We don't see the Career Center as the ending point. We see it as a driver of where everyone is going. College eventually leads to a career. Technical college leads to a career. Going to work also leads to a career. And so part of this is helping a student identify where they are most interested. So exploration of post-secondary programs is a part of the Career Center's programming.
Yeah, it's good.
Quality public education looks like an education that students own and have an active part in determining what it is they want to learn, that they follow their passion, they follow what they're interested in, and that they have real-world learning experiences that help them determine the direction they want to go in.
We don't just want to be a school system that's known for just our academics. We're in the city of New Orleans. We have a very rich history, and so being able to bring that history and our legacy into our schools, and I think is a very important piece of having a world-class education.
A world-class education creates opportunity for all students. Those with the most challenging disabilities may continue post-high school learning at Opportunities Academy on the George Washington Carver campus. It serves 18 to 21-year-olds with moderate to severe disabilities. It's federal law for schools to do so, but for this Collegiate Academy's charter, it's a priority.
And so we are serving students who have been excluded from 4- and 2-year universities historically, and we are the post-secondary option for those students. So we focus on community access, independent living, job skills, and employability.
Like coffee. How many with a cigarette?
Maybe 3 packets.
There's a campus coffee and snack order and delivery enterprise to serve teachers and staff where the students learn job lessons. And there's an apartment used as a teaching tool.
The Oasis is our independent living lab. It's a literal apartment that we use for small group instruction to work on independent living skills. So the goal is for us to teach students how to have their own apartment, how to maintain their own apartment. How do we make sure that the thermostat's at the right temperature, or a temperature that's comfortable for me? How do I cook in an apartment?
Next year, the day-long program will serve 50 students. There's another mission of opportunity shared by the Recovery and Orleans Parish school districts to help students at most risk of separating from school stay in school. Angela Wiggins-Harris, her case managers, and a reserve police officer are the team behind the Youth Opportunity Center.
YOC was built to address those different barriers that contribute to kids dropping out of school, contribute to kids disengaging from school, contribute to kids having a rocky relationship and parents having a rocky relationship.
Staff spends most of their time in the community, interacting with every child on the juvenile court docket, about 75 each week, and their families. They're also in schools and in homes, trying to break down barriers to school attendance, such as poverty.
Mental health, behavioral health is definitely a barrier. That communication between the home and school is another barrier that we address a lot. One of our most recent barriers that we are addressing, because we've added it as a referral criteria for schools, is housing instability and homelessness.
While Reserve Officer Joynal Abden answers calls about truants in a city where 20% of high school students are absent every day, the goal is no longer punishment.
Our goal is to really understand what is driving that child from not being in school. Like, what are those barriers that exist? And then we work with the students, with the families to eliminate or decrease the barriers.
After a full day of working at her professional passion, early childhood education, Reva Ellis turns to her personal passion, her own children.
Hi, my babies.
But Reva also makes time to encourage all parents to become involved in their child's education through her work with Stand for Children.
Stand for Children is an organization that seeks to build parent engagement so that parents know how they can be supportive of their child's educational success. The work that we do is really about helping parents become partners with teachers, principals, and school leaders for the success of their child.
Reva and her Stand colleagues plan strategies for parent recruitment.
I know for a fact each one of them schools, they have a monthly meeting for parents.
So that their voices can be heard about opinions and concerns that they have about the education offered to their children. From the One App process.
I ain't had no problem with it.
They displeased with it because,
like
she said, it's too much. What happens to just fill out the paper for your child going to the school closest to your home?
To transportation.
I have seen children outside at 6 o'clock, 5:45 in the morning to get on the bus to get to school. And they have babies out there at that bus stop. Children. Nothing is that important for you not to be out there with your children. Nothing. I don't care what job, what you're doing. It's never that important. And that's who I am.
To keeping parents informed.
My school, my children go to Langston Hughes. They love me over there. They welcome me with open arms. I could come there anytime, walk in. They work with you. They work with you. They call you 24/7. So it makes me feel happy that, okay, well, I can trust them with my children because literally they're not trying to hide anything.
A viewpoint not shared by Tiffany Adams about her child's school.
The policy there, nobody never has time. The receptionist is rude. The lady who answers the phone, the principal, he's just all over the place. Just never wants to talk to you. You can never get a hold of him.
Opinions vary, but according to the 1,000 respondents to a survey conducted by New Schools for New Orleans with Enroll NOLA or One App applicants, most parents are pleased.
83% of respondents felt that One App was fair and it was easily understandable. 79% felt that it was a really good time saver, that to be able to have the access and do that online was extremely favorable. 78% feels that the One App is very helpful. Over 95% of the respondents said that the most important thing for their child is to be in a high quality school, versus 59% that choosing a school close to their home is important. And so while there are individuals who feel like we should be able to move back to more neighborhood schools, make it a bit more convenient, to cut down on travel time, while I believe all those things are important, until we get to a place where all of our schools are high quality and we kind of have the luxury of saying, well, yes, we'll just go to neighborhood schools, we need to continue to have access for all families to get in all schools in order to make sure it's fair and equitable for everyone.
Parents Ashanti Smith Trask
You have to think of your hypothesis.
and Lamont Douglas,
Her dog was smaller than that, smaller than JoJo.
like their counterparts at Stand for Children, walk the walk of parental engagement. And while Reva Ellis advocates for improved early childhood education, she also urges that parents of children of all ages stay involved.
We advocate for the children. Be voices. Don't give up. Keep going. If you don't like something, speak up. Your child education is important. You know, you want better for your child. I know I want better for my children. Make sure you just stay on it. Don't give up, because you got to. They can't do it themselves, so you got to be there.
New Orleans public school students, families, and teachers should not detect much difference under unification. But one change that is expected is another slip in public school performance scores.
So when the standards got raised and Common Core came out, we've been slow to adopt new curriculum in New Orleans, and this isn't an excuse, it's just an explanation of why we took our a dip relative to the rest of the state, is we didn't adapt as quickly to the new standards. I think that is happening now. And it's also, after you see 10 years of continuous, improvement, at some point the improvement's not going to happen forever. There's going to be a dip, and then the question is, do we keep improving again, or have we plateaued at sort of what is a new normal? I hope not. I hope that this was an adjustment period, and now we'll see the schools over the next few years start to improve again as we adapt to the higher standards.
The tougher new standards raise the bar for student proficiency from basic to mastery. The state had been curving the school letter grades of A through F, but that's over. The state projects when it releases the scores for 2017-18, the number of A schools across Louisiana may drop by 38%, with a 57% increase in F schools. However, the grades to be announced in the fall will be the first that measure how much progress students make, not just how high-performing they are.
We've got to have high expectations. More graduation rates, higher graduation rates, more kids going to college, higher test scores, but at the same time, just greater progress with all students, no matter the disability, no matter the language they speak at home, no matter how much money mom and dad have in their pocketbook. Progress.
Progress towards equity in education is another challenge OPSB pledges to push.
I don't think we do a good job of really addressing some of the larger systems of inequity that our students face. Racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, all of those issues that are part of our students' day-to-day lives. I think that some schools embed it into their curriculum and other schools simply don't acknowledge it at all. And so in that way, I think that we're not really preparing students for what it is that they're going to deal with in the larger world.
Do you want to create a system that's more equitable in saying that we still have too many families that have been traditionally underserved, and we want to give them more access to where others who might be born into, for whatever reasons, to more affluent situations, to like sort of level the playing field? So I think one, it has to be determined whether you're more for equity or equality. And I think if it's for equity, then it's always about, well, who are the ones most disadvantaged that we're trying to rise up? And then once you get to a place where it's equitable for everyone and people are back are on an equal footing. I would argue we've never been on equal footing. Then you talk about like how do we equally distribute.
Dobart and other education leaders say creating equity requires more A and B grade schools. About 20,000 children go to New Orleans public schools graded D or F. Another big challenge is recruitment and retention of teachers. Each year, New Orleans public schools need to fill 900 teaching positions.
Our teachers are underpaid. We've got to find a way to increase, especially for those areas where we're having a hard time competing with other professions. The maths, the sciences, the engineerings, foreign languages. We have to find a way to compensate our teachers fairly.
The Recovery School District's role leading New Orleans public schools is over, but it will continue to help them face the challenges ahead.
Under the new federal Every Student Succeeds Act, we have identified in our state 271 struggling schools that need to focus on improvement. Those schools are all over the state, and some of them are still here in New Orleans. And our focus will be supporting those districts in building strong improvement plans, helping them to implement those improvement plans, and if that doesn't work, we still have the authority to take schools and improve them ourselves and then return them to the local parish.
Expectations are high that New Orleans public schools will continue making progress to build brighter futures for all the students in their care.
I think RSD and OPSB in its most recent years have really joined efforts to work collaboratively, and through that process, I think both districts really value creating a system that serves kids equitably and understanding what are the extra needs and extra services that they need to put in place to ensure all kids have equal access to education and have the ability to achieve.
So I think a quality education is something where we're all giving input from the parent that's at home, from the children, from those leaders, administrators who we know have the talent to educate our children, and we're all putting into this melting pot, which New Orleans really is a melting pot, and we're figuring out which best works for us.
In a way no other city has tried, and the nation is watching to see if unification reaches its goals of equity and excellence in education.